this is Gray Hughes of Gray Hughes Investigates on YouTube. Please hit that like button, share, and subscribe. Today I'm going to go over the Stephan Stearns interview on WFTV. They did a great interview of him on there. This is, I think, the day after Madeline went missing. This is what we got to keep in mind here, is that at this point, nobody was really aware of what was going on, but the time that this interview was being analyzed by everybody was after we already knew that he was arrested. Okay, so Stephan Stearns was arrested. We now know that he had assaulted Madeline Soto multiple times over the years, seemingly on her birthday. And we also know that he was spotted throwing a backpack, a laptop into a dumpster around 7:35 on the morning of the 26th. We also know that he is also spotted driving around with her lifeless body in his vehicle at 8:19. So when people are looking at this, they can easily spot every single thing that points to him being guilty. Now, I think the art of body language is really something, that's why you don't see it at trial. It's not something that's absolutely legitimate. Are there sometimes people are really obvious? Sure. I mean, remember Chris Watts, hate saying his name, but it was so obvious he was guilty. There was another guy a couple of years ago that was just, it was laughable how guilty he was on the screen. And it's just kind of obvious, right? But a lot of times people use past tense, for example, and that seems to be the linchpin. Everybody's looking for that. Ooh, look at that. Ooh, you use the past tense. And using past tense, it might indicate knowledge. Like in this case, when Stephan Stearns uses it one time and then immediately catches himself and then refers to Madeline in present tense, you might be able to say, oh yeah, see, he knew. Because he did know. He did know that she wasn't alive in these interviews. Okay, so we can say that, but there are many cases out there where people use past tense and have nothing to do with the murders. So I think it's always convenient with these experts out there who go, oh, look at he used past tense, and everybody jumps on, yeah, wow, look at that, and then every case after that, it's almost irresponsible for the people doing body language analysis when they don't tell you that many innocent people use past tense, and they do it often. It's your own mind's sort of belief that something may have happened, or you just haven't seen them for a while. So if you're somebody that's, let's say have somebody that you see every single day, all of the time, and then you haven't seen them for 3 or 4 days and they're missing, you might refer to them in past tense, because that's just how your mind is coping with it. It doesn't mean that you did it. And it's weird that people have to be so paranoid that they can't just speak how they want to speak, because there's going to be people out there that think when they use past tense, they're guilty. Now, in this case, we know Stearns knows that Madeline Soto is not alive. But anyways, let's just get going right now and go over it the way I would go over it.
Last name is spelled in both.
And also realize that I know, I got to put my headsets on so I can hear it. So just keep in mind that I know that he has already been arrested and he's been sighted on camera with her body in his vehicle, and she is not alive at that time. And also, keep in mind, somebody spotted his car pulled over with a flat tire right where her body was found.
Stephan Stearns, STEPHAN,
Alright, so Stephan, you seem very emotional right now. Explain to us.
I dropped her off.
He seems overly emotional, given at this time she's just missing. You're not really sure. I mean, some people do have this type of emotion because they're so close to somebody, and they're this guy, it seems a little overboard with his emotions.
He looked fine when I drove away.
And see right there, she looked fine when I drove away. Well, we obviously know that's a complete lie, right? Because she wasn't fine, and you didn't drop her off there. Now, there's people out there that believe that the person in the surveillance footage at the church is actually Jen Soto, the mother of Madeline Soto, in some sort of plot, as if they knew that there was a camera that would look grainy from a distance. But do we have any evidence that Stephan Stern's vehicle pulled up to the church and that Jen got out? I mean, this just sounds like another one of these theories that come out on social media that generally aren't true. I guess it's possible. I mean, I guess it's possible that that's what's happened so far. People are talking about it, when they say we, but then he's the one that dropped her off, so maybe she is saying we because she was in the car and then she gets out, but then the story is supposed to be that he's the one that dropped her off. Maybe the we was the mistake, maybe that was the error that she was making, and the he dropped her off was supposed to be what she said. You get what I'm saying?
It's the last time we saw her.
I just think there's going to be very low or little chance that that was Jen trying to pretend that she was Madeline at that church.
What were the conversations that y'all had in the car when you dropped her off?
Not much. She was asleep for most of the way. Told her have a good
I mean, I think that part there is pretty crazy because we know that she was not alive but visible in the car at 8:19. So maybe he's aware that it's possible somehow she's filmed on a vehicle or in a vehicle and she's not awake. So he's saying, oh yeah, she was asleep. But I mean, the drive to the school is less than 10 minutes. You think she's going to get in the car and just fall right to sleep? And also, school starts at 9:30. And when you were driving around at 8:19 in the morning with her in the vehicle, why were you're claiming that that's when you took her to school, apparently. But why do you need to take her to school that early? And also, why would you drop her off at the church, which is a quarter of a mile away from the school?
in school when she got out. I love her. She said, thanks, love you too. That was it.
See, it's weird knowing that that's all bogus right there. Like every bit of that. You know, she was asleep the whole time, and I told her I love her. Have a good day. She said, thanks, love you too. I mean, it's all crap. But he's trying to make himself look like he's just, you know, an unsuspecting, good boyfriend who was just trying to do something good and drop her off to school. But I really couldn't drive her to the actual school. I had to drop her off a quarter mile away. You know, she needs to get that exercise in the morning. You know, but I dropped her off way over there. That doesn't even make any sense. What's weird about it, too, though, that the theory about it being Jen in the video is sort of interesting because it would explain why you dropped her off at the church, or you claimed that you dropped her off there so that you could, because you knew maybe there was a camera there, because you wouldn't want to drive her to the school and let Jen out, because people at the school would not recognize Jen. They're, she's a mother of a child that goes to school there, and there's many more people there. There aren't many people at a church on that day. I believe it was Monday, right? So Monday morning, how many people are going to be at a church? So you could make it look like that. I mean, there are things that would make that sort of an interesting theory. I'm just not going to put a lot of weight into it. It would explain, though, why you would want to drop her off a quarter mile away, not at school, because the school obviously has a ton of cameras all over the place and close up, and you'd be able to see that that was Jen, not Madeline.
And so where do you think she could possibly be? I mean, this isn't, as I was told, this isn't normal behavior.
See, right now in his head, he knows exactly where she is, but he's shaking his head. You know, but he knows exactly where she is, in the hedges off of a road about 20 miles away from.
She's not the type that would just run off. We don't know where she can be. And we're scared. We just want her home.
Are you, in a sense, blaming yourself?
It's hard not to.
It's
Why?
Look at that. I mean, that part's hilarious.
Are you, in a sense, blaming yourself?
It's hard not to.
Yeah, I bet. I bet it's hard not to blame yourself, you know? Especially since we know that you have the photographs of her and you on your phone or the videos. And then we also know that at 7:30 in the morning, you were throwing her laptop and backpack into a dumpster, 7:35, and then at 8:19, she's not even alive in your vehicle while you're driving around in the same apartment complex.
Why?
I dropped her off early. I could have waited longer. She looked okay. She was walking towards the school when I saw her.
I dropped her off early. I could have waited longer. Yeah, I mean, that is true. You dropped her off early. But why did you drop her off at the church, you claim?
It was like any other day, so I went on with my day. It's hard not to blame myself.
What has the conversation been with Jen since?
She's been a lot stronger than me. She's been holding it together really well, but it just keeps coming in waves.
I mean, that could be explained by Jen is acting somewhat normal, just kind of like, where is she? Where is she? Where is she? Where is she? Where he knows that he killed her. That's why his emotions are so much stronger. Maybe he did care about her, but he ended up killing her for whatever reason. I mean, there's theories out there. I have a theory that maybe she was pregnant from him, and perhaps he knew that he wasn't going to be able to hide that and would lead right to him. Perhaps he realized after he was gone for so long that he wasn't going to have the same control over Madeline, and that maybe she would come forward and tell about the abuse that had been going on, and he wanted to take control of that. It could be that he drugged her. Caller that called in last night talked about maybe that Stephan drugged the mom and the daughter, and in the morning kind of sort of guilted the mother into saying, hey, don't you remember, what was going on, and et cetera, et cetera. And, there's a whole bunch of different scenarios. We don't know yet because we don't have the autopsy. I suspect sometimes that there was nothing visible right away that showed that she was strangled or some other obvious sign of murder. So maybe they're waiting on the toxicology reports to determine how she died. It also could be that there was something observable, but they can't tell if it was Stephan or Jennifer, because there's no forensic information perhaps that directly points to him being the person who killed her, but they know that he's the one that dumped her body, for a lack of a better term, in those hedges 20-something miles away from home, and he was driving around with her not alive in the vehicle. And he also was throwing away, again, the backpack and the laptop, and then somebody saw his car where her body was found with a flat tire.
Just the reality keeps hitting. We don't know where she is. We don't know if she's safe. We're just scared. We just want her home.
Have you...
And now he says, we're just scared, we want her home. Yeah, I mean, I could see both of them being scared, but I think he's absolutely scared that they're going to get onto him, because he knows exactly what's going on. And he knows that she's not going to be coming home.
Like literally put boots on the ground, went out.
Yeah, I even went out with the cops.
He goes, man, have you put any boots on the ground? He's like, yeah, I even went out with the cops to show them where I dropped her off. As if that's some sort of amazing feat on his part. Now, maybe for him it is. Like, man, I'm so gutsy. I even went with the cops. Knowing what I know that I did, I am feeling absolutely amazing. So I'm saying I even went with the cops to show them where I dropped her off.
Where I had dropped her off, and we looked all up and down the road, all along the communities, and there was nothing helpful. None of the cameras were pointing the street.
So he wants to make sure that the reporter knows, hey, they don't have anything yet, man. There was no cameras pointing anywhere. Nothing helpful. I'm definitely not anywhere, is what he's thinking. But, I mean, it's pretty funny. It's funny, it's crazy to go over this knowing that he knows exactly what happened.
Nothing, which in 2024 was surprising. The church across the street had some cameras, and they mentioned seeing her waiting around in the parking lot for a while before moving on, and that was it. But it was grainy.
I mean, it would be such a miracle for him. See, he knows that that's not her in the church parking lot. So it must be amazing when he's like, oh my God, they actually have somebody that might look like her in the parking lot? Even the police said that they weren't able to determine if that was her or not. It's too grainy. But they don't believe it's her, they said, because they know that she's not alive at 8:19 in his vehicle, so that's not going to be her at the church. And that's where the conspiracy comes up, that it is actually Jennifer and not Madeline in that video to pretend that that was her. Now, wouldn't it be interesting if the person in the grainy video was wearing exactly what Jennifer described Madeline is wearing, because she knew that she was wearing that. And that's why it doesn't match what Madeline was actually wearing at the crime scene. It looks like she has jeans on, but she does have a green top.
It's grainy footage and not much else.
Does it seem like she walked west, east?
They said in the direction of the school. I'm not sure what that is.
What was the language? Not language verbally, language, body language. When you dropped her off, did she seem happy? Was she like, I'm going to meet my friends?
Happy. She had a happy weekend. She just turned 13. She had her 13th birthday party.
So she had a happy weekend. So he's referring to the past, but not in past tense regarding her at this point. She had a happy weekend. She had a birthday, 13th birthday party.
She was happy that we were all together here.
She was happy we were all together here. And it's interesting that he would bring that up. What does that have to do with anything? You know, she was happy we were all here together. That's him trying to make it seem like, man, we're just all so loving. He knows it's probably the opposite of that. That Madeline probably is never really that happy when he's around, because she knows what he does.
And she's just very happy. She was a happy kid.
She's just been happy, but then right there he says she was a happy kid. That's the first time, and I think the only time, he refers to her in past tense.
Happy that we were all together here, and she's just very happy. She was a happy kid. She's very sweet.
She was a happy kid. And then immediately he switches back to present tense. I think he realized he had said that. It was the only time that he used past tense, and since we know that he knows that she is dead at this time, that might be significant now, because he's referring to her in past tense. But if this was just a standard interview where we don't know, you wouldn't be able to tell that that one slip-up meant anything. You might get lucky and be right later on, but again, the Heidi Broussard case is a good example of that. There's actually a YouTube creator out there that many of you are watching regarding this case. They're the one that's selling the story about Santa out there. She absolutely trashed the boyfriend of Heidi Broussard over and over and over again because of an interview he did where he looked nervous. On my channel, we go, God, I think the interviewers are what created that issue. He said he was uncomfortable doing interviews, and they had the light right in his face, and he was sweating, and she just went after him day after day after day after day, trashing this individual over and over again. And it turns out Heidi Broussard's friend, a woman, had killed Heidi Broussard and took her baby. And it wasn't the person in the interview. He had absolutely nothing to do with it. And yet this YouTuber was claiming that over and over and over again. And then during one of the live streams she was doing, an arrest came in, or like the cops were at somebody's house, and it turns out a friend was the killer, and she got the credit for that. It was the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. It was the most shameful YouTube behavior that you could ever imagine, and yet somebody was rewarded for it, who shall go nameless. Unbelievable. All right.
Sweet girl. She brings a lot of joy to us, and we just not knowing.
So the unknown is killing you.
Yeah, except he knows exactly. See, he says the unknown, and right there he's thinking, well, I do know. I do know. I know everything. I mean, he's just this guy. It's crazy to look at, knowing that he knows. So you can kind of look into his face, and you know that he is what he's thinking about isn't what a innocent person would be thinking about. He's literally thinking about exactly what he did.
Yeah, it's like our whole world is upside down. Not feeling her presence here is... Sorry.
I mean, it's possible that he cared for Madeline and is able to draw on those feelings of caring to be able to pull some tears out of the proverbial rabbit's hat.
It's hard.
Oh no, you're fine. Don't need to apologize. What do you want our viewers to know when they see this?
She's a sweetheart. She's a very sweet, kind girl.
I see. Make sure everything's present tense.
Just please be nice to her. Bring her home if you find her. Tell her that we love her. Wherever she is, I hope she's okay.
I mean, if someone were to come in contact with her and you gave me her diagnoses, would it be easy to approach her without any like agitation or anything?
Yeah. She's a good kid. She's a good kid.
If you can sum up in one complete sentence, waking up, getting ready to drop her off at school, dropping her off at school, to now speaking to me after talking to the police about her being missing for over 24 hours right now. In one complete sentence, what would that be?
A living nightmare.
Yeah, you are a living nightmare. He's actually referring to himself. When he looks in the mirror, he says, I am a living nightmare.
It's a living nightmare. Day started off like any other.
And see, that's the thing, is he's trying to sell that. The day didn't start like any other. It's likely she wasn't even alive in the morning. And the 8 o'clock comment by Jen, as I've said on my live streams, I think is the one element that puts a little bit of weight in the category of her knowing something extra. If it turns out that Madeline was dead based on autopsy results, perhaps digestion of food, something like that, if they're able to determine that she died late at night on the 25th or early in the morning on the 26th, then that means Jen's statement about seeing her at 8 in the morning getting dressed is a fabricated lie to help out in Stephan's timeline. And that would be really, really concerning at that point, because I don't think most parents would do something like that. If you realize that you're doing it to help his timeline, you would then feel like he had something to do with it. But Stephan's pretty slick. I mean, you see some of these posts he makes on Reddit and stuff like that, the way he tries to explain things to people. So he might have been able to word something in a certain way where she was willing to say that she saw her at 8 in the morning. So that's proof of life, basically. So at 8 in the morning, Jen is offering proof of life regarding Madeline. But we know that at 7:30, Stephan was already putting the laptop and backpack in the trash. So that's a problem right there. Now, it could just be that she had the timing off, but what time would it have been then? I mean, I think we can assume that Madeline wasn't alive when he was putting those items into the dumpster. I mean, if she is still alive and has no knowledge or isn't aware of anything at that point, then that would be an extreme premeditation where he was literally getting rid of her backpack and laptop prior to him even putting her in the car to go somewhere. and that she's still alive right there. That really doesn't really make a lot of sense. So it feels like something had happened prior to that. I have a source that I have on social media. He just helps out sometimes. He'll offer some information, and he's really good at looking up stuff. So on one of the documents it has Stephan Stern's phone number, and he was able to take the number and, using some of the tools that he has out there, he was able to determine that that account accessed an online social media site that is really, it's used by predators often for sharing information, etc. And that was at 4:50 in the morning on Monday. So that would have been less than 2 hours, or I guess about 2.5 hours prior to him throwing those items in a dumpster. Okay, now because of this type of information, that's where the theory of the Santa Claus guy that lived in a blue house, who's, was like a father and son team of CSAM material individuals who had places where they'd share information online, and because of the timing of when this person killed themselves, people believe that somehow they're connected. I mean, is it possible they're connected? Sure, but there just happens to be, millions of pedophiles in the United States. So, and they're all over the place. There's the list of sex offenders in just that small little area there is in the hundreds. It's incredible. All right? So let's continue on here.
I just want to wake up. You just get hit with waves of the reality, just it's setting in. As soon as it got dark last night, we started falling apart because we knew it wasn't going to come to an end.
See, when he says reality setting in, see, it's too soon for him to be saying the reality is setting in. He knows what the reality is, so that's why he's able to say that.
And now we're going on 24 hours and still nothing. Just conflicting reports here and there. People say they see this or that. None of it's conclusive. And
yeah, I mean, that's like somebody who's really aware of what people are reporting. He's probably following everything on social media, and nothing's conclusive, everybody. It hasn't pointed to me quite yet.
None of it's helpful. We just want our baby girl back.
Tom, any questions?
No, I'm good.
Thank you.
Yeah, they just want their baby girl back, but he knows that she's not coming back because he's responsible for putting her body exactly where it was found. Now, we're still waiting on the autopsy reports to figure out exactly how she died, and then that will let us know perhaps a little bit more information on what took place that night. I also heard that there's going to be more information released by law enforcement this week, so I guess we'll have to keep an eye out on that. All right, everybody. Well, thank you all very much for watching. If you could hit that like button, leave me a comment in the comment section. Let me know what you think. I'd appreciate your thoughts on the interview here. I mean, we absolutely have a huge advantage because we already know that he's deeply involved in this case with the CSAM material and also the dumping of Madeline Soto's body, etc. I mean, it just goes on and on. So it's not like we're being super sleuthy when we look at things that he's saying and think it's ridiculous. I'd like to know what people would have came up with had she not been found right away. What would the analysis have been? Like, for example, there's the behavior panel out there. They've gone over this after he's already been arrested. So it's really easy for them to find every little nook and cranny, every little twitch, the look, his eyes glancing, etc., etc., etc. It's easy to find those things after the fact. All right, so thank you all very much for watching. I appreciate it. And as I always say, until next time, be safe out there.